I didn't plan for this. No one ever does. But there I was, in front of my university classmates, my laptop camera catching every detail, and in my arms, a sleeping baby. You could almost hear the collective double-take through the silence of the online class. And somewhere, on the other end, my professor's voice cut through. Please turn on your camera. That single request set everything in motion. Because if you were just looking at the scene, maybe you'd think it was odd. A 20-year-old guy in a philosophy class giving a presentation with a tiny infant tucked against his chest. But what you wouldn't see in that snapshot was the night before. The emergency phone call, the quiet drive through dark streets, the sound of a baby breathing softly in a house that suddenly felt too empty. It started late the night before. My aunt and uncle had to leave their house for an unexpected family emergency. The details aren't mine to share, but the urgency was real. They called my parents first, then me. They needed someone to take care of their baby, less than a year old, until they could get back. I didn't hesitate. I'd cared for babies before. I packed my things, drove over, and settled in for the night. Morning came, and they still weren't back. They'd warned me this might happen. They'd said it could be 1 or 2 in the afternoon before they returned, which meant I had a problem. I had a morning class, and not just any class. I had to give a presentation. When class time rolled around, I had my cousin in my lap. He was warm, breathing evenly, completely out cold. And if you've ever taken care of a baby, you know, a sleeping baby is sacred. You don't move them. You don't risk it. I signed into class with my camera off. The plan was simple. I'd keep things quiet, keep my head down, deliver the presentation without making a scene. But then the professor's voice came again. OP, please turn on your camera. I hesitated. I have a sleeping baby right now, so is that okay with you? There was a pause. A sleeping baby? She asked. Yeah, I said. There was a family emergency. My cousin's asleep on me right now. I'd rather not share all the details here, but I can email you after class and supply any proof you need. Her response was quick. It's fine. Please turn on your camera. So I did. And there I was. Me, my slides on the screen, and my baby cousin resting against me. I gave my presentation. I went through every point I'd prepared, answered every question that came my way. The baby never stirred. The whole thing went better than I could have hoped. And for a moment, I felt a quiet sense of accomplishment. I'd managed to juggle both responsibilities without letting either one slip. That feeling didn't last. The next night, I got my grade, and with it, an email. She'd marked me down. Her reason? She felt the baby was there as a pity prop, that I'd been trying to gain sympathy, and she told me, if I hadn't had the baby, my grade would have been higher. I stared at the screen. My first thought wasn't even anger. It was disbelief. I had been proud of that presentation. I had gone out of my way to explain the situation beforehand. I'd offered proof. I'd been transparent. And she had been the one who insisted I turn the camera on in the first place. Now she was saying that the very thing she'd allowed had cost me my grade. I sat there replaying it all. The decision to keep the camera off. The moment she asked me to turn it on. The careful way I'd cradled my cousin while speaking, hoping not to wake him. The quiet relief when it was over. And now, this. It's strange how quickly pride can turn into humiliation. I started wondering if the others in class had thought the same thing, that I'd been playing for sympathy, But then I remembered. They didn't know the backstory. Only she did. And she still assumed the worst. I sent her the proof she'd said she'd need. Messages from my family confirming the emergency. But even with that, the mark stayed. And I couldn't stop asking myself, why? Why see a student handling an unexpected responsibility and assume it's manipulation? Why turn a real-life challenge into a reason to penalize someone? The more I thought about it, the more I realized this wasn't just about me. What if I had been a single parent? What if it hadn't been a one-time emergency? Would she have graded me the same way? Or would the mere presence of a child always be seen as some kind of calculated move? I couldn't shake the unfairness of it. I had done the work. I had met the requirements. The baby hadn't disrupted a thing. And yet, here I was, marked down because she decided to attach her own meaning to the situation. Friends told me to report her, to take the email to academic affairs, to point out that it was inappropriate, maybe even discriminatory, to let personal bias influence a grade. I thought about the professors I'd had before, the ones who'd let students bring their kids into class, the ones who'd understood that sometimes life doesn't give you a choice. I thought about how those professors had never made anyone feel smaller for it. I didn't ask to be in this situation. I didn't use my cousin to win sympathy. I didn't even want him on camera. All I did was say yes to my family in a moment when they needed help. And now I'm here, wondering if standing my ground will make a difference. Wondering if going to the department head will change anything. Wondering if it's worth the fight. So, am I the asshole? I'll tell you what I think. Sometimes, life will throw you into a situation you didn't plan for. And in that moment, you have a choice: to step up or to step aside. This storyteller stepped up. He didn't let the emergency become an excuse. He didn't abandon his responsibilities. He handled both, and he did it with care. But here's the deeper question. What does it say about us when we see someone balancing a difficult situation, and our first instinct is to assume they're faking it for attention? That reflex to question someone's sincerity says more about the observer than it does about the person living it. Bias has a way of sneaking into judgment. And when that bias comes from someone in a position of power, like a professor, it can quietly shape the future for the person on the receiving end. That's why this matters. Because grades aren't just numbers. They're opportunities, scholarships, confidence. They can open doors or close them. So if you're listening to this, I want you to think about the times in your own life when you've had to carry more than anyone knew. The moments when you were holding something heavy, literally or metaphorically, and still showed up. And I want you to ask yourself, if someone saw you then, would they give you credit for the work you did, or judge you for the load you carried? What would you have done in his place? And if you were the professor, what choice would you have made?